want to help you deliver software that actually works. And it might sound obvious that that's the case, but sadly, too often software that we write, it gets released quickly, and as we move faster to delivering software quickly, we forget that it actually has to work as well. So one of the key messages in today's webinar is helping you deliver software that actually works, as well as delivering it quickly. So this is to introduce the Inflectra complete platform. And as I mentioned in the title of the webinar, we covered in Inflectra everything from requirements management through to deployment and support. So if you think about coming up with an idea for a new, whether it's a new product or a new innovation of an existing product, those ideas ultimately have to become requirements, whether that's user stories or it's another form of requirement. All those ideas have to get thought of, put together, and then planned, delivered from a software development standpoint, delivering that software. Maybe it's pure software, maybe there's a hardware component. These days, there's a lot of more embedded systems with IoT. And then obviously making sure that works. So quality assurance, understanding the risks of deployment, risk management that goes with that as well. Of course, you have to also test what you're doing. And as we deploy things faster and faster and not introduce risk, that requires automation. You can't test everything manually, not at the speed we're deploying these days. So test automation is critical. And of course, with that, once you go live with the software, making sure that the customer feedback is incorporated, make sure that you have a robust service organization in place to support the software once it's gone live and provide feedback for the next iteration. That's where we see IT service management. So if you look at this diagram, you can see covering that entire continuum is an important part of the Inflectra suite. And to see how it all fits together in a more graphical form, these are the products we'll be talking about today. And they fit together in that SpiraPlan is our project management suite, and that covers everything from program and portfolio management all the way down to project management, test management, task management, everything management. When you want to manage the life cycle of development, testing, and bringing all those capabilities together, that's what the SpiraPlan platform offers. For smaller organizations, there is the SpiraTeam and SpiraTest, which are reduced versions of that. For those who are looking to do code management, we have our own Tara Vault platform, as well as integrating with GitLab and GitHub, which are the two industry standard players for DevOps orchestration. And then, of course, as I mentioned, customer support and feedback is paramount. We have our KronoDesk help desk, service desk application that integrates fully, Spira Capture for exploratory testing. And then, of course, when you need to automate all of the testing and QA that goes with these release cycles, Rapise is the ultimate test automation tool, covering everything from web, GUI, services, mobile, desktop, and mainframes, even all in one platform. So that really is from soup to nuts, the Inflectra suite. Now, the question you might be asking is, what's in it for you? Why use the Inflectra suite? This is what our unique sales proposition is, our USP. It's the fact that we recognize that you need to go to market faster. So the fact that our software, all the tools I'll be showing you today, they're all designed to be easy to use and complete. You don't need to turn one on and then integrate 6 different plugins to make it work. You can start with Spira, as we'll see, get moving right away to build up your backlog, your ideas, build out test plans, build out sprint backlogs, start doing coding, committing the code, managing it, and then integrating orchestration tools as you need. But also we're looking forward. We're looking forward to Scaled Agile with our new Scaled Agile functionality release. The Rapise just came out with a new test framework functionality built in. So we're constantly innovating our platform. And as you use our platform, you get the benefit of these monthly innovations and monthly updates that we're doing. Of course, another thing that people are very concerned about right now is inflation. If you look on every metric on any of the business channels, everyone's worried about the cost of everything. Everything seems to be more expensive. We're doing our best to make that less of an issue for you. So we're incredibly cost efficient. Things like the fact that when you use our platform, you don't have to buy a separate automation tool for web, mobile, and desktop. You don't need a separate tool or a separate plugin for every single feature for management. It's all in the Spira platform. It's all in the Rapise platform. It's also licensed by concurrent users, very simple, transparent pricing. You can even move from on-premise to cloud or back, vice versa, and it's the same pricing model. So very cost efficient, gives you the most bang for your buck. And then lastly, on the bottom right, we have put a lot of thought into our tools. When we start to go through the live applications, we've pre-configured them with workflows, customizations, out-of-the-box dashboards, so that your business process will get improved. We've built in these best practices into the tool, so you don't have to spend weeks and weeks configuring it and hoping you're doing it the right way. Of course, we do have training and support that goes with the tool when we need hand-holding as well. So what is the reason? One of we exist as a company is really we believe that companies are struggling with this gap between they want to be modern and agile, they've got to release software faster to keep up with their competitors or move beyond their competitors with things like agile methodologies, DevOps, orchestration. Everyone's doing remote working. You've got teams working in every time zone. Everything is highly automated and modern, but at the same time, we're dealing with the fact that the world is more scary and dangerous. Cybersecurity requirements, the new NIST requirements that are coming out of the White House are going to completely change the security around your software supply chain. Ever since SolarWinds, people have been caring about this, but now it's going to be in law. And so what you're seeing is, as companies are moving to the right with their modern agile processes, CI/CD, DevOps, on the left-hand side, we need an increasing need for more regulatory compliance, releasing every month or every day or every hour. But at the same time, how do I prove to people that it's safe, that we've done a good job of testing it? Back to that original idea of software that actually works meaning not just that it works functionally, but it's got the security audit. It meets the data privacy needs. It's got enough risk management design so that we understand all the edge cases. The thing has to work in many different situations. So as we move to the right, we need to also support the things on the left. And the Inflectra suite is unique in offering this bridge between being modern and agile and fast, but also supporting compliance, SOC 2, ISO standards, the ability to be able to prove that you've tested everything adequately, especially for mission critical, safety critical applications. And increasingly, software is in everything we use, and increasingly software is mission critical. Whether it's a self-driving car, a medical device, whether it's a critical e-commerce application, we consider all of these applications to be critical for you, our customers, or if you're looking to be a customer, and therefore we take it seriously, and you need to as well. And so the functionality we have bridges these two worlds, giving you safety and speed. Here's some examples of that, some of the functionality we have in our platform in the different industries we service. In the life science industry, one of the most regulated and most safety conscious, obviously, we have support for medical device standards for testing, 21 Part 11. We have data privacy agreements, SOC 2, HIPAA, GDPR. Our entire platform has been validated by an external auditor to guarantee that it actually does what it says it does, that it has traceability. We're being used by a lot of our partners in life sciences to help in these most safety critical of applications. Financial services, people don't necessarily think of banking as safety critical or mission critical. It is. When banks go down or data migrations in banks fail, you can look at the news. People can't run their businesses. There was that almost collapse of a bunch of regional banks about 3 months ago in March. That meant that many companies wouldn't have made payroll. So when financial service institutions have problems with their software or their systems, it is mission critical. Entire businesses and industries can actually fail as a consequence of that. So people increasingly are looking at this is the financial service plumbing of the world. How do we make sure when we release a new version, it's been tested correctly, make sure that it's safe, make sure that all of the tests were done, the risks have been assessed, and there's traceability to understand when we made this change, what are the side effects, what are the knock-on effects? Did we think of all the requirements it might impact? And so as companies are looking to move faster, we can provide the tools to help you move fast, but not break things. Another sector we do a lot of work in is in the general manufacturing, energy, industrial, and automotive sectors. There you need to have, again, compliance, you need test management, and there's even a move towards risk-based development where you start with risks and use that to derive your requirements and your user stories, and then building that into your test plans, building those compliance tests into your testing. And so as we move forward with customers in those industries, the functionality we've added into Spira over the last couple of years really makes it really easy to do that. And when you couple it with the Rapise test automation tool to be able to automate that testing, automate that quality assurance, you've got the ability to move fast and be safe. And then the last sector to talk about is an area where we do quite a bit of work, and it's really government, but it's really aerospace and defense. We do a lot of work in the defense and aerospace sector. Part of the reason is we have some specific functionality we've built around mission systems. There, the fact that we can do test step traceability is one of the key differentiators. Another one is the fact that we can do on-premise, and we can do that with air-gapped networks. We've got several clients that are looking to move from other platforms to the Spira platform and the Rapise platform, because of the fact it can be installed on a classified air-gapped network. It doesn't require internet access. It still provides that seamless end-to-end functionality, just in a secure, air-gapped environment. So we have that functionality as well. These are some of the key features across the industries that are important: traceability, privacy, compliance documentation, workflow and the electronic signatures, and the fact we can integrate all of these across the software value chain. Whether you're using other tools to do your DevOps, do your CI pipelines, you may be looking at other tools for test automation or security testing or functional testing. We can integrate those different tools, and I'll show you some of the tools we integrate with a little bit later on. All of that can be integrated seamlessly into the Inflectra suite. And as I mentioned, we do, of course, comply with all the different international standards that are critical in these different industries. Here's some example customers that we have, just a selection. This is our US Canada list by industry. Some of the names you would be familiar with, others may be more niche, but we cover, again, a variety of different customers across different industries. And if you look in our European list, some of the same industries, but different companies. And if you look at our global, outside the US and Europe, these are some of the other companies that we work with in the other geographies. And as a company, we are a global company. We have a footprint in North America, Europe, LATAM, and Asia Pac and the EMEA. So we do cover all those different disciplines and all those different regions. And to do that, not only do we do it with ourselves, with our own team, which, the great Inflectra team that we have, but we also do work with key partners. Some of these partners will provide training services to go with our product. Others are experienced in pipelines and DevOps and provide implementation support. So when you choose the Inflectra platform, not only are you getting Inflectra, but you are getting the Inflectra team, which includes our partners in those different geographies and with those different skill sets. And so when you have an engagement with us and you need someone to help maybe do a life science validation, or maybe you're looking to do a DevOps integration, we have partners that can not only explain and use the Inflectra suite, but also can help you integrate it with your other tools, implement best practices, and make sure you get them running really quickly. Moving on. So what do we do as a company? And what I will do, I will take Q&A in between the slides and the application demo. So before we go into the live demo, I will pause for questions and then go into the live demo, just because some of the questions may be about the slides. So questions, what do we do as a company? As I mentioned, this is the platform. We've talked about that already. But if you actually look one level deeper in the different tools, we're going to look at these in live form. But just to give you some previews, this is SpiraTest. That's the entry-level product. That's a requirements and test management tool. Starts off you in the world of quality assurance management. You need to manage your test cases, you need to manage some requirements, some defects, integrate with some other tools. The SpiraTest is a great entry point. If, on the other hand, you're looking for a full lifecycle management tool at a team level, and you want something to be able to do backlog management, project planning, as well as the test management, Scrum support, Kanban support, waterfall and hybrid, whatever the different needs are, all of those functionalities, code management, SpiraTeam is a great place. It's a full suite tool that can be used at the team level and manages everything from the development side and the testing side, all in one platform. We've got clients who were formerly using some other tools and have moved to it either because of the compliance needs, the fact that it's more integrated, or because they need to be on premise, or they have certain other requirements that the other tools weren't matching. And we do have migration tools to SpiraTeam from various other different tools on the market to streamline that migration. And then for the larger customers, the ones that are really looking at taking that to the next level, they're looking at doing scaled agile, they're looking at maybe doing SAFe or Scrum of Scrums or Nexus or one of the scale methodologies, or you just have a very large set of projects, it's a large organization, and SpiraTeam is working great at the team level, but you now want to work at the company level. SpiraPlan is the enterprise version that includes things like risk management, program management, portfolio management, and scaled agile planning. And we'll see some of that stuff a little bit later on in the live application demo. And then Rapise, this is the tool we'll be demonstrating as well today. Automation, if you want to do some test automation, automating web, mobile, desktop APIs, all in one system, integrated fully with Spira with a built-in Spira dashboard. So you can see everything in both systems seamlessly back and forth. Remote Launch is our integration tool for launching other tools. Part of the Inflectra philosophy about openness and harmony is the idea that we can integrate other tools into our ecosystem. So if you've got an automation tool that does a really good job of automating your application, you can use a Remote Launch to connect that into Spira and leverage the benefits. Tarvault is our built-in Git repository system. That's a standard Git repo with branch management, code management, pull requests, and can handle all of that within Spira. You can also integrate with other tools like GitHub or GitLab if you already have those in place. We also have Spira Capture. That's our exploratory testing tool. It's a free add-on to Spira that can be used independently that lets you do exploratory testing. KronoDesk, which I'll be showing you, is our help and desk and support tool, and that can often be at the front of the process or at the end of the process. At the front of the process, you might get customers logging ideas or feedback, which can be used to start your requirements, or it could be at the end of the process. You've just released a new version, it's gone live, and now you're getting customer feedback, maybe dealing with issues that need to be fixed in the next update. So it closes the loop between dev and ops, really, bringing the support side into the system. And as I mentioned, we do believe fundamentally in an open ecosystem. The last time I checked, we have about over 70 different integrations. They're all free with the product. Things like CI/CD integration, whether that's GitHub or GitLab or Circle CI or Jenkins or Azure pipelines. On the automation side, it could be you're testing SAP and you're using Tosca. It could be you've got some Selenium frameworks you've built. It could be some API testing you're doing. Whatever the tools are that you're using already in-house, we can leverage the benefits of those into Spira, giving you that traceability and integrated reporting. If you're using other tools for project management or tracking, we've got integration with things like Monday, ClickUp, Asana, Jira, Azure DevOps, UTrack, and a whole bunch of others. And we have a migration set of tools to help you migrate from, if you're a customer working in Word documents or spreadsheets and this is your first tool, we have tools to help you onboard to a platform. If you're using a platform and not happy with it, we do have migration tools for other similar platforms as well. And of course, tying developers into the ecosystem, plugins for all your favorite IDEs, all your favorite unit testing frameworks and languages, as well as integration with a series of different load and performance testing tools to round out the ecosystem. And all of these are supported by Inflectra. So not only do you get the integration and the plugin, you also get our support team helping you with that. You're not on your own. So that's a quick overview of the company, the suite, and the products. Before we get into the live demo, I saw there was, I think, Teresa, there's one question in there. So maybe I can answer that right now.
That's a great point, Adam. So the question asked about our plans for the African market.
Great. And this was a company question rather than a product one. That's why I thought I'd do it now rather than before we get into the tools. So I'm just going to walk back a second into Africa. We do have partners in Africa. In fact, they're listed right here. So I'm going to give a shout out to 3 companies that we work with in Africa. One is Quality of Things, which is that black Q with the blue circle. They're called Quality of Things. They're based in South Africa. We also have Rubric Consulting, which is based in Mauritius. We work with them. And then another great partner of ours is Teza Business Solutions. They have offices in several countries, principally Nigeria and Kenya, but they do have a wider footprint than that. And all 3 of them have worked with Inflectra for many years. And we have several customers with all 3 of these clients in the different geos. And we are looking for more, to work with additional partners and customers in that region. I think if I go to the customer list, we do have some companies here you'll see on the list. First National Bank of Mozambique, Banks of Africa, Grindrod Bank, Equity Bank, Princess Tuna. They're a company that makes tuna fish, canned tuna, or tunas in America, and I grew up with that brand, so I remember them very fondly. Access Bank. So there's lots of customers in the financial service sector, principally it seems in Africa, but other sectors as well. So we are looking to do more in that area as well. If you are a customer or a prospect and you're interested, we can arrange a demo. If you need training and consulting, if you're an existing customer, our partners are happy to work with you to provide that locally as well. We're going to start today's demonstration by first looking at Spira. Then we're going to be looking at KronoDesk, and then we also have Rapise down here for automation. So these are the live applications. So let's start out, first of all, with a little bit of an overview of what Spira does, and then we'll look at KronoDesk and log an issue through. So first of all, as I mentioned in the original presentation, and again, I can only scratch the surface. In Spira, there's a lot to show. This is SpiraPlan. So this is the top level version of the suite. This gives you everything from program management, portfolio management, down to product backlogs, development, requirements management, all in one integrated suite. And so typically you'll work in it by looking at the different projects and programs that we have. So in Spira, we have different what we call projects or products, depending on how you organize things. So for example, let's say we're looking at the financial service industry, one that's came up on the slides. If I go, hold on. Aerospace. We have lots of industries. Oh, we go financial services. So if you can imagine, we've got 4 different systems we're working in our financial service institution. So the portfolio here is financial services. So we've grouped together in this example all our financial service sample projects together. In a real customer, you might be having a different portfolio for a different department of the company. Maybe your business development department is one portfolio. Maybe your your internal systems is another portfolio, maybe your client-facing systems is the third one, or it could be the different kinds of system that you have. If it's a financial service institution, maybe the whole portfolio could be back office system. It's really up to you. But the key is you've got a portfolio level, then you have a program level, and then you have a product level. And the teams will typically be working primarily at the product level. That's where you have your product requirements, your user stories, your features, your requirements, the test cases. Most of that work is being done here at the product level. It can then be grouped into what's called a program, which is the group of products that work together. And since our last release, we've now got the ability to have program level backlogs as well. So you can actually manage program-wide capabilities and track each of the individual projects or products completion against that. So as an example, if you have a core banking system and a billing system, maybe there's a new feature you're going to bring to market for your customers that requires elements of both of these 2 sets of systems and these 2 teams. In Spira, you can have these 2 teams working and managing their own work, but you can also bring them together and orchestrate those 2 different initiatives together. Same thing, maybe you've got a mobile banking app that your team's working on, and you've got a web portal that you can log in to do banking. You can now manage those together. So Spira lets you manage all those different levels in one system. And it does have, to make that even easier, it has dashboards. This will be a sample enterprise dashboard. You can see the portfolios we have, the percent, the completion, the schedule. Now, this is a demo system, so it just looks very, very late because these things are all well overdue. That's because we don't actually work in this live system. But if you saw this for real and you saw the fact we're only, a third to halfway done on most of these different pieces of work, and yet we're many days overdue, there will be major concern here. So this would be a high-risk organization if you saw this. Each of these can be drilled down on, so you can go down from each of these into the individual program or portfolio to get a more detailed view. We do have enterprise risk management built in, so you can see all the risks across the organization percolated up here into the dashboard. We've also got a timeline view, so you can see a roadmap of all your initiatives, what's the schedule, what's the progress on a timeline as well. So this is your integrated enterprise dashboard. You can obviously drill that down to a different level. So if I wanted to go from this view, maybe let's look down at a program view, like this one here. This would be a sample program view. You can now see all the different products in my program. What's the completion? What's the test coverage? What's the quality metrics? And so see again, more and more different, more detailed metrics, all for that one program. And if we go down to the product level, which is the lowest level, you can now see a dashboard for this one system, one team. So you can see a risk cube, you can see all my open risks, you can see what's my percentage complete of this, of all the active work. These are my different releases and sprints. Are they on track? Are they behind? You can see your requirements coverage again. Now you can also see burn down graphs and burn up graphs for the team, velocity, all those graphs all in line on the dashboard, defect counts and other quality metrics, late tasks, late starting tasks, late finishing tasks. So it gives you a PM's dashboard. This is out of the box. Everything you're seeing here is a system without any configuration or customization. So the great thing is, back to our USP, we're not requiring you to spend weeks and weeks setting this all up, writing code and building out reports. This is out of the box and helps you get going really quickly. And all our best practices from both ourselves and our partners have been baked into the system. Let's look at some of the functionality. And again, going to scratch the surface in the one webinar, but here you can see all of the requirements in the system. In this case, we've got a QA view where we can see all the requirements, the test coverage. Right now, we're filtering to find all the requirements that have got at least one failure. I can find all the requirements that are missing test cases. I can find all the requirements that have got late tasks or late starting tasks. So you can use the system to take requirements and figure out what's the exception cases, where the issues are. We've got different views of requirements. We've got that view. We have a board view. So you can see all of the requirements in a board. So you can also see that in a Scrum view. This is the Kanban view where you see all the statuses. If you do it by sprint, you can get a Scrum view, the sprint 1, sprint 2, sprint 3. For each of the story cards, you can see the requirement, you can see the tasks and the test cases all in one integrated view. We have a document view of the requirements as well. So you can see if you're coming from a more traditional methodology where everything's in documents, you can see have a document view and you can have a board view. And in fact, we often have clients that they have both. They have teams working in development with a bunch of user stories in a planning tool, and then a different team is working in a set of Word documents to do all the requirements analysis. And the teams, coordinate once a week to try and line things up. So we bring this together. It shouldn't be your requirements, my requirements. It should be one integrated view. And the great thing with Spira is we have backlogs, we have DevOps integration, and we have requirements all in one system. And so it really brings all the information together for different teams. And there's even the traceability view where you can see everything graphically, see all the traceability links. And everything in Spira is inline editable, whether you're on a board, a grid, you can always click on the button, make changes, depending on the workflow. In this case, it's read-only because this one is in a completed status. Depending on the status the item is in, different things will be editable or not editable. That one's also completed. Let me see if I can find one that's not. If not, no big deal. Yep, there's one that's developed. These fields are not editable. So as well as requirements, we also have the ability to manage documents, and you can use it as your primary workspace. You can do diagrams, you can manage tech documentation, team standards. There's a full document management system built into Spira, so it can be a place where the team can collaborate on a whole range of different documents, whether it's graphical or textual. We also have a full QA system built in. So as I said, quality is really important to us. We believe that's a key foundation. If it doesn't work, then it's no point releasing it. So inside of Spira, you can build test cases and test plans. These can be both manual and automated or exploratory. I'll be showing you the automation in just a second. But if you can imagine here, this will be a simple manual test case. It's got the name, it's got the description, it's got the steps. The user can follow through. They can run the test case, log results, and now you've got all the tests, manual tests in one system, all tied to your requirements. As developers are working, they'll be working in the code management section. We can track all the code in the system. We can either manage it natively inside TaraVault or inside another tool like GitHub or GitLab. But the great thing is your visibility. You can track the different branches. You can look at a branch, look at the code, look at, for example, what changed. So that way, if, for example, a test fails or there's an issue in a particular feature or requirement, you can drill back and see, who made this code change, like this code commit, who made this code commit here? It was made by Amy. Why did Amy make that commit? Okay, it was to fix that bug and that bug here. Why did they make this one? Well, it was to implement this feature, and that task was part of that feature. So every time you look at a revision, you can see exactly what changed, and then you can see, the before and after. But as well as that, you can see why it was changed. So there's always traceability to see what were the artifacts that were causing that change. In this case, it was this requirement and that task, or that issue that was fixed. And traceability is super important. If you tie in the CI pipeline, you can also get it at the build level. So every single CI event will trigger a new build, and you can now see that in the system and all the information connected just to that one commit. So it's very granular. It goes all the way from the enterprise down to a single code commit, all in one system. We looked at code quickly. Let's look at defects. Of course, there's issue tracking. We've got board views, we've got grid views. So when things are logged, all the issues are logged in the system. And when we look at the KronoDesk integration for help desk, the help desk issues will also come into here as well. So it provides a central hub. You might have issues coming from other tools like Jira or ServiceNow, or you can be using KronoDesk to bring those issues in. So for example, if we were to go into one of these issues, this one here, You can see this issue was logged. It was a bug during authentication. It was logged during testing. We've got the description of what was happening, the expected result, the actual result, the screenshot, the failure, and then that defect is linked in the associations tab back to the test result, as well as the source requirement that was violated. So we have that traceability from requirements all the way through to issues and the reverse direction. As well as having that at the product level, one of our recent innovations is the fact we can now do that at a program level. So if you were to go to, for example, back to the financial service example, we can now track what we called program capabilities. So we recently added this. So at the program level, we can actually do a few different things. One thing we can do is we can actually manage your different products. So each of the products and projects can be managed with different fields. So you can actually use it for project portfolio management. You can track each of these projects and track things like, is it Sarbanes-Oxley, HIPAA, is it what technology is it using, what team, what budget? So you can use Spira to do program management of your projects. And separately, you can also use it to now manage program-wide features. We call them capabilities. The idea of a capability is this is the feature that spans multiple projects. We've got many clients that have, a team working on one system with their own schedule and their own sprints and their own delivery dates, and another team working on another entirely different system. But for the business to achieve business value, you have to release functionality in both systems that work together. For example, a mobile app needs a backend for the mobile data to come from somewhere. Unless that's both released, there's no value. And so SpiraPlan lets you manage the capabilities and the milestones for those capabilities at a program level that spans multiple projects and feeds into your roadmap. And that was released this month. So that's a really cool new feature we have in Spira. So that's what Spira does very briefly. Manages your products, your programs, everything from requirements to testing, development, and the life cycle and the feedback loop. Now, what about customer support though? How does that get into the system? Now, with the integrations we have, if you're already using a tool like ServiceNow or Zendesk or Salesforce, we can already feed those issues into Spira. However, we also have KronoDesk, which is another option. It's a tool that is as an add-on to Spira and provides a basic a help desk that can provide both a knowledge base, forums, and a help desk. So in the knowledge base, you can use KronoDesk to publish key articles for your users. So let's pretend I'm a user that's got an issue. I've got the latest version of your new system that was developed using SpiraPlan. It's been tested using SpiraPlan. It was released, went live. I'm the customer who's using it. I've run into an issue, and maybe it's an installation issue. So I look in KronoDesk to do, why is my issue going on? And maybe I'm trying to install the web portal system. That was one of the two banking apps, and it's not working. So first of all, right out of the bat, I can use the knowledge base. And these are just fake articles. It's all in fake Latin. But I get to the article, and maybe this solves my need. If so, I'm good to go. Perhaps it doesn't solve my need. Okay, so I could go to the forums and log a question in the forum, but I'm a paid customer. I can do that obviously too. I can leverage the community, but perhaps I'm a paying customer and I want to actually, get paid support from my vendor. So I can go in here. Actually, I don't want to use the administrator. I want to use Kathy customer, and the trial version we have does have some predefined logins. So you can, if you sign up for a trial, you can use these. So I'm going to log in as a customer and I want to log in a problem that I have. So I go to my home page. I can see that there's a knowledge base, but I've already tried that. And I look down here, you can see here are my existing tickets that are already open. There's my phone number I can call if I want to do that as well. But actually, no, this is the new issue we have. It's not related to the ones I logged before. So I can open a new ticket. So open a new ticket here. It's in the web portal we mentioned, having an installation issue. Notice that we'll try and match the ticket with existing knowledge base articles. It doesn't obviously know that I already searched. Many times customers don't search. We know that's a thing. So therefore, it's good that it actually prompts me to look at some existing articles, but I know they don't work. So let me move on and log a ticket. So having an issue with installation. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole installation, if I can type. I'm not going to go through the whole life cycle of a ticket because we only have a little bit of time today. We have other webinars where I've done that, and we certainly could, if you want to get more information on KronoDesk, please join one of those other webinars. But the key is, if I go, as they say in good cooking shows, to one I prepared earlier from a previous demo, you can see here's an example ticket where it was logged, very similar to what the one I just logged, but now you've got employees, Eric employee is actually reporting back to me. So I'm Kathy, I've logged a ticket, Eric's written back to me, He's written back, they're figuring it out, but it looks like it's actually a product defect. Eric's written back to me and said, or actually his manager, Martha, has said, hey, Kathy, we saw you having an issue with the installation. Looks like it's actually a bug in the system. It's not actually your fault. So the question is, how does that tie into Spira? Well, great question. So because it's a product defect, that would actually now interact with Spira because that will require a new product release. If it was an issue that was solely a support issue and the user just made a mistake, we don't want to pollute Spira over here with all those support issues. So they will stay in KronoDesk. And then what happens is the ones that are product issues, they make their way into Spira so the appropriate team can take advantage of it. So let me log out. I'll log in as Martha, the manager, so you can see their view. So it's the exact same ticket, but we'll just see it from the internal view. And 1 second, there we go. And if I go in, I have Martha's internal view. And I think this is the one. Yes, so this is the exact same ticket, but this is the view that Martha has. So it's a little bit different. First of all, if you look at this ticket, it's got the same back and forth with Kathy. Kathy's in yellow, and Eric, who's my employee, is in green. But there's also this pink note. That's because there was actually an internal note where Eric, our customer support rep, was writing an internal private note to me, the manager of the support team, the customer service manager. And actually that way, Kathy didn't see that. As you saw, it's Kathy, I didn't see that. But more importantly, I also see this issue as being logged. So we were able to take a customer support ticket in KronoDesk and it automatically gets filed back into Spira as an issue. And that way gets fed into the development team. The development team can then fix the bug. The QA team will build a test case for it, verify it, gets closed, and then we push it back out to the customer. And then the customer support agent can go back over here and close the loop with the Kathy and say, look, we fixed the issue. The new update's now live. Does it work for you? Yes or no? And so on and so forth. And that will be an example of how you take a customer support ticket from KronoDesk integrated with Spira. So KronoDesk, Spira, working together. And then the third leg of the stool, as I mentioned, is automation. And so if we go down over here to my desktop, this is our automation tool. It's called Rapise, and it integrates really tightly with Spira as well. It's got some pre-built videos for getting started. And so if I wanted to create a new test to automate something, perhaps, for example, Kathy's ticket has spurred a new release that we need to test. The development team has done the development. The QA team has built the test cases, the test plan. We now want to automate that test. So I can now connect with a new test. It's connecting to Spira. So when you see these test folders, these are the exact same folders we would see if we were inside of Spira. So we go over here, just to prove that, we'll go to test cases. So these are my test cases, and they can be both manual and automated. Here's my folders. Go back over to Rapise. Let's create a simple regression test. And we'll just do a very simple example. It's a web test. Oh, you need to test case. Retesting the bug from the customer. Let's pretend that's my test case. And it's a web app we're going to test. I'll use Chrome. We'll use RVL. And this will be an example of a test case, and it's completely empty. But as we start to build the test, it will appear here. And Rapise is a completely codeless test automation tool. There is the option to add code to it, but its principal interface is codeless. That way you can have a mixture of technical users who are automation engineers. They can take a test written by a less technical user and potentially add code to it, make it more, or refine it, make it more reusable, redundant, more maintainable. And that's the great thing with Rapise. You can write a very simple test using record and play, which I'll show you now, but you can also have an automation engineer take the exact same test and apply automation best practices to it. And Rapise has lots of tools built into it to make that even better as well. We'll only talk about, again, a very simple use case today because it is a suite-wide demo, but we do have more webinars that go into specific applications and specific use cases for different automation examples. So let's go ahead, though, and record our test. I'm going to go over here to Chrome. The application we're going to be recording is Library Information System. It's a sample app that's available and hosted on our website, so feel free to play around with it. And let me go ahead and record. And I have set this machine up with a new login for my user. Hopefully, I don't have to set anything up for this to work. So it's a demo effect. Let's see. So what it will do is it connects to the app. Now, one thing, because Selenium, the API we use to connect to a browser uses Selenium. And as a result of that, it has to open a new browser window. So even though I had the app open already, you will have to always put the application URL in. And that's for safety. It's a feature that Chrome introduced a few years ago. and it labels the browser window with this banner. Chrome is being controlled by automated test software. Firefox has something similar, and so does Edge. This is because to avoid bad actors interfering with your live browser, it always runs in this separate browser that's sandboxed. And so even if your browser app is up, just note that when you start the recording, it will always bring up a new window in this special safe sandbox mode. And that's expected. And that's true of all automation tools. That's required by the browser manufacturers. So what I can do though as a user is I can go in here, and if you notice it's recorded by first action, opening the URL, I would go in here, and I basically just have to interact with the application. In the simple record and play format, I don't have to be an automation expert. I can record basic tests, and it will build those for me, and it can play them back for me through Spira. So I'm just going to go in here. I will create a book. Adam's book. I want to verify my book was created, so I'll use the verify feature. I'll control and one, bring up my verification box, text, okay, log out. That's a very simple test. Hit finish. And there we go. That's my test. These are my steps. That's my verification point right there. And these things that you see, like login, username, password, these are objects on in the application, and they're all visible right here. And you can, if one changes, you can always do right click and relearn it. If you also want to verify something is on the page, you can always do that at any given point in time. All you need to do is go to here and say flash, and it will see if it can find that on the page live in the application. So there's lots of tools for automation. Let's see if I maybe on the wrong page. It'll let me know. Oh, there it is right there. It went red. So there's lots of functionality, things that again I won't show you right now, but it does have the ability to do loops, and which is a way to loop through all these steps. And for different test data, you can do that by using a loop. We can do branches, if then conditions. There's a lot of functionality you can do right here in this codeless interface without any code. But if you want to go further and add code, you can always use the ECMA script / JavaScript that's built into Rapise to do a more advanced automation. But we just want to do a simple case, so let's go ahead and save it back to Spira. It's going to upload everything to Spira, because Spira is the version control repository of all the test information. So this way, you not only do your manual tests live in Spira that we saw earlier, but also so the automation tests. It uploads to Spira. Multiple teams can work on it at the same time, which is really great. That's fine. And if you go to the Spira dashboard, you can even interact with Spira from within the Rapise. We actually have a dashboard for Spira and the ability to view test cases and folders and everything live in Rapise. So an automation engineer working here in Rapise doesn't have to be alt-tabbing back to Spira. It's completely seamless the way they can work. They can work in Rapise here, or they can work in Spira. Both tools work seamlessly together, part of the integrated suite. And then what you would do is to play that back, you would go into Spira, schedule that to run, and play back against the test. So to do that, I will just do it locally to show you how the playback looks. So this is our application. I'll just hit the play button, and I'm going to let go of the keyboard. It's going to play it back. Hands off the keyboard. It's going to log in. And this is a web app. We can do the exact same thing for desktop apps, mobile apps, iOS, Android, and APIs and mainframe. So that's an example of a test that was run from Rapise directly. If you want to see what one would look like instead of Spira, we have those as well. I'm just going to do one from a previous demo. So if I go into Spira, there's an exact same example, and I scroll down to test runs and clear my filters, and this will be the example of how a test run would look like from Rapise that reports back into Spira. So it tells me the release that was being tested, who ran the test, what test set it was a part of, how long it took, and then down below that you'll see a screen-by-screen breakdown exactly what happened, how far it got. In this case, it failed at some point, and when it gets to a failure, which is always more interesting, we can see what happened. Oh, look, it was looking for something on the screen that wasn't there. It was trying to find the create new book link, and it wasn't there. Now, in this case, it gives you actually suggestions as to why that might be the case. In this case, it's because I logged in as a different user, and that user didn't have access to the creation of books. So it was actually an expected failure. The test itself was wrong. It should be said it was expecting not to have that button. the login that we used didn't have access to that functionality. So in this case, we would either decide that we use a different login for the test, or we change the test to handle that as an expected case. But again, that's an example of a test failure. And when there is a failure, you get to see a nice screenshot of exactly what happened and where it happened. And you can see here, we went to book management, logged in as this user, and the create new book link, which we saw before, is missing right there. So that's an example of test automation. So to recap, we've looked at how you can use Spira to manage your projects, manage your requirements, your test cases, your code, defects, risks, tasks, plan all of that, how you can roll those up into a program, a portfolio. You have dashboards to do reporting at the enterprise level all the way down to the product level. We've talked about how you can use KronoDesk to add help desks and customer service support into the suite. And then lastly, we've used Rapise to automate some web testing that was done as part of the QA plan. And with that, since we have about 10 minutes left, I think let's move over to the questions.
Thank you so much, Adam. That was a great overview of the Inflectra suite, and kind of see how all the different products can fit together seamlessly. One question that folks may be wondering is about our licensing model for the different applications. Perhaps you could review that.
Absolutely. So the licensing model is similar for all three apps. There are some slight differences. So Spira is licensed by number of concurrent users. That's the number of simultaneous users that use it. So you can have as many named users in the system as you want on all your project teams, and it's only the number that are logged in simultaneously that will count. So you could have a 20 user license and have 100 people on the team, but only 20 that are logged in at the same time would need the license. So it gives you a lot of flexibility with different time zones. Also, if you've got a manager who wants to log in and run a report and log out again, you don't need a dedicated license just for them. KronoDesk, which is the help desk tool, it's a very similar model. The one difference is we only license the internal users, the customer support team users, because we recognize that as a company, you don't know how many customers are going to need to log into a problem. You don't want them limited by a license. So the licensing for KronoDesk is optimized just for the number of support team users. If you're logging a ticket, no license is needed. Just go and log the ticket. And then lastly, when it comes to Rapise, which is our automation tool, that has two licensing options. The newest option, which is actually my favorite, is a concurrent licensing model, which is based on floating licenses. And the way that works is when you connect Rapise to Spira, it checks out a license key from Spira, you do the automation, and you write the test, save the test to Spira, close Rapise down, and now the license is released. We do also have a traditional fixed machine license model, but for the most part, for new customers, we're more and more promoting the floating license model. It's so much more flexible. And one other difference with Rapise is that's only needed to write the tests. Unlike some other tools, you don't actually have to pay for a playback license. So you can buy a 5-user license of Rapise that lets up to 5 people write tests. Then you can play it back on as many machines as you want, especially for customers that are doing large scale, either performance testing or just very large scale distributed functional testing, and you need to run it on lots and lots of machines on a Selenium grid or something, or Source Labs. You don't want to have to be limited by the license. The playback engine has no limitations. It's unlimited playback.
Fantastic.
And all the pricing is on the website. So if you want to play around with the pricing, feel free to go to pricing, and you can pick the product, pick the license model, cloud, on-premise, and then just drag this slider to see the pricing by month or by year. Sorry.
No worries. No, that's a great overview there. So at this point, I don't see any additional questions. Obviously, as Adam mentioned, we will be doing some deeper dives into specific products later in a webinar series. So be on the lookout for those. If you want a more deeper dive into Spira or Rapise or KronoDesk, that's certainly available as well. But thanks so much for joining us today for an overview of the Inflectra suite. Thanks so much, Adam. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Teresa. Thanks for being the moderator, and thanks for those attending, and see you in the future.